All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Hamm. We are here at the legendary Great Notch Inn today with two other legends in the New Jersey scene, Mark Moran and Mark Sceurman. Marks, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having us.
Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely. I don't think I said Weird New Jersey, so if people are somehow unaware of that, you guys started and run Weird New Jersey, which we were talking about when we had you come out to Jersey Fest, which at the time of this episode posting will be a couple months prior to that. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! Like, how'd you get those guys to come out?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just asked."
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
you did a great job.
Oh, thanks,
I know
man. Great night.
The band was pumped that you were up there, and they put the whole story, like the whole video of you giving them an intro.
Oh, they were kick ass.
Oh, they
it
were
was just
awesome.
great.
Yeah. But, all right, so Weird New Jersey. And the one thing that I also told people, or have been telling people, in my opinion, you guys are like the OGs of New Jersey content creation. You know?
I think that's a good analogy.
Right? Like, I mean, you have people like me who are kind of, doing like a new wave of different types of things. But
We were creating content when there was no place to put it.
yeah, right, which is really incredible. And so I'm assuming you guys are Jersey guys born and raised, right? That's true.
Essex
Absolutely.
County through and through.
Essex County. We were just talking about that. I just moved to Essex County in January to Bloomfield.
Okay.
So
Bloomfield in the house.
Yeah.
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield.
Welcome to our Parkway traffic.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so how'd you guys meet? How'd the Mark genesis of Weird New Jersey kind of start? And then we'll kind of get into more of the nitty gritty as we kind of go along.
Well, I did the first couple newsletters, by myself.
Okay.
And Mark started writing me. And then, actually, this is a very appropriate place to talk about this because we decided at a bar that we would, let's do this and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll just
And here we are at a bar
so
now.
that people know. I mean, they see the magazine now, and it actually looks like a magazine.
Yeah.
But to put it in context, this was 1992, 93, and this before the internet. This was really before everybody had a computer, and
Yep.
certainly years before anybody had a cell phone. So when I first saw Mark's first issue of Weird New Jersey, it looked like this.
Holy
Which
moly.
is just Xeroxed copies. He actually used a typewriter to type it, and this was all these terrible photos.
Yeah.
were pasted
for the time,
up
I'm
with.
sure
And
they
it
were
wasn't even
revolutionary.
an electric typewriter. It was like a push button.
The
So
Hunt
this
Pack.
it was all pasted up with rubber cement. Old school, OG for sure.
Yeah, and like where was it? Like where was it being distributed?
Just to my friends.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Mark was giving it out to his friends, and since they're so easily copied, anybody had access to a copy machine could make their own and then give it to their friends. I mean, it's not even printed on both sides of the piece of paper,
Right.
So
It'll be too hard to figure out.
It's not very. It wasn't very difficult to bootleg,
Yeah.
so that's what people did. So I mean, what did your first run?
Maybe about 50 copies, maybe.
Yeah.
He made 50, and somehow there's probably 5,000 of them floating
Right.
around.
Yeah, that's crazy. But also, I think it's like the sincerest form of flattery, almost to totally steal somebody else's work.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
But it is something where like you must have known, or maybe over time knew that you must be onto something that people.
Well,
like
no,
that
actually,
stuff.
we thought it was so ridiculous to start a magazine about, going to sewer tunnels and,
Yeah.
albino villages,
Sure.
heartbeat roads. And who's going to really, grab this concept? But
Yeah.
it actually, I think we were more amazed when it really started to happen.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was that the bootleg, we couldn't have actually ever gained any traction without people bootlegging it because, as I said, before the internet, there was no way to disseminate information.
Right.
Now it's, you post it on social media or
Yeah.
whatever. But back then, people were passing around these bootleg editions, and then all of a sudden, and we only had access to writing about the things that we knew in a very localized area. You know, Mark was writing about things he knew, like Albino Village and Clifton. And I when I first caught wind of the magazine, I started writing the stories that I knew from my hometown, like Monk's Castle and the Nike missile bases and Richie the Boot Riardo, things like that. And but we didn't have any other thing. No leads to go on until people started writing us letters.
Yeah.
And once again, this is before email, so people actually wrote,
a lot
and
of
mailed,
mail.
and then all of a sudden. It's like, how did somebody in Salem County, get our address, But that's how far-reaching these bootleg issues were going. And then everybody was sending us, like, leads, not necessarily fully written stories. Some of the stories in these early issues are only 3 sentences long.
And most of them are nothing. There's really, there's no meat to it.
Facts.
No.
Right.
So what we did was we basically cast ourselves as investigative journalists, and people would say,
Bernstein,
there's have you ever heard of the Gates of Hell in Clifton? There's a cursed road called Shades of Death Road. So with just that to go on, we would set out one day a week, would gather up all our leads from a particular area, and we'd go out on the road and we'd find out everything we could about Midgetville or something like that. We'd do historical research, we'd get photographs, and we'd, without question, we'd always end up in a bar or a diner locally and ask people what they knew about these things, and usually they
had
people, very local people knew.
And they usually had like one good story to tell. And it, like the bars and the diners, they were great just to go into. And when you're on the road, and the other beauty about the magazine is it's New Jersey.
Right.
You can travel all day and be home for dinner.
That's right. 100%. Yeah.
You can get to any site you want to see and still be home, at dinner time. The happy hour or whatever you want to be home for.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And then that's really, that's been my experience, because like we travel everywhere. It was like similar in similar vein, like we're going every place, and it's nice. Like
our travels might have been a little different. I think we've traveled through every abandoned building, hospital.
Yeah, that is a little different.
We've crawled through sewer tunnels. We've fallen down mountains. Mark got a gun pointed at him.
Really?
So it's
more than once.
Well,
so I have a question also about like the early days, especially like the first issue, maybe even like the first couple issues. How were you finding the stuff? Like, you have this idea that you're going to make 50 copies of the first issue. Like, how many pages is that first issue, and where were you getting?
Actually, that first issue was the first 3 issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you see,
There were like broadsheets.
It's just stapled together in the top corner, so you can make it larger as you go.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the way we found information, in addition to talking to the locals that we could, find at these places, libraries, going through microfilm in the basement of a library. There was no other way to do research. And if you're talking about local stories, most of the stories never were, never large enough to actually make even statewide papers. So you'd go to libraries and go to their town newspaper archives.
Yeah. Like something a weird thing like this, string falling from the sky for a week
mystery thread in Caldwell hanging down.
We found one article on it in Caldwell, in the Caldwell or local newspaper.
Yeah.
Boys find mystery thread that pulled out of the sky.
And this story was going back to the 1970s,
Wow.
so... and it's still a mystery to this day. Like, where was this string coming from? What was it made out of? There's still no answers, because once they pulled it down and sent it off to DuPont for analysis, that was the last anybody ever heard of it.
Right.
So
but anyway, we thought, the magazine. We're going to do a magazine about bars, strange places, things that can't be explained.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's the weird covers a very a large umbrella. Actually, it's not niche at all. It's we cover everything from strange roadside architecture to unexplained phenomenon, cryptid creatures, ghosts,
and then the people. The people that we have met over this many years.
I love the people
they're
here.
stranger. It's stranger than going to see a thread coming out of the sky.
Yeah. I know you said that one of the most asked questions that you get is like your favorite one, and I promise I'm not going to ask that.
Well, we couldn't tell you.
Right. So, but I will ask, was there one, when you first kind of come up with this concept of doing something like this, was there one that was like, wow, that's really weird, I didn't want to go find more weird shit? You know, like, was there something like that? Or was it kind of just like you knew of a couple and like you just started like learning more?
Yeah, it was kind of like a amalgamation of everything all of a sudden just started like tunneling through us.
Yeah.
We had to separate this to this. This is Ghost. This is a band. Then this is some crazy guy with bowling balls all at his lawn. And stuff.
Well, that's the other thing. We really set up the architecture of this thing was, it's not. We cover a lot of different things, but we categorized them in certain ways. You know that.
We had to.
When a story fell into a thing, it's like, okay, we've got enough of, let's say, abandoned stuff for this issue. Now let's concentrate on the paranormal stuff, and then it was a good balance. But what I think really, where people really got intrigued was the local legends. People probably know the term urban legends, but we weren't interested in that so much because urban legends are almost always untrue.
Yeah, right.
Whereas local legends often have some basis in fact.
Right.
So a local legend, you could, when you first hear about it, if somebody writes you a lead on something and it sounds intriguing, and then when you start to investigate, you find that there is a historical basis for that legend existing, and then perhaps it's taken on this mysterious.
And then somehow we find a old photo or postcard of it, and it's a whole combination of investigating that's pretty is unconventional, but
Sure. I mean, listen. Unconventional is great. Every trailblazer that's ever done anything, it's like an unconventional thing, and that's what you guys are, really.
Yeah, I mean, we actually we had nothing to base this on because, as far as I know, and maybe somebody could prove me wrong, there was never a publication like it before.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying just in New Jersey. I would say anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody ever
I'm not
just
super well versed on the other 49
concentrated
states,
on only the really strange stuff. I mean, aside from, let's say, the Weekly World News or the Inquirer, but everybody knows that's all bullshit.
Right.
It's like the stuff we were printing, we never made up anything. I mean, maybe the people who wrote to us believed some crazy stories, but we were very subjective about it, objective about it. We just presented it as it was told to us. We tried to investigate as much as we can. If we can't find, a historical basis for a legend existing, it doesn't mean the legend isn't good. Right. So we'll print it, and then the readers can decide for themselves if they want to A, believe it, B, debunk it, or just be entertained by it either way.
Yeah.
And after all these years, I can probably count on my hand people that have deliberately sent in stories to pull the wool over our eyes, and you
can smell them coming.
First of all, they're too well written.
Yeah,
the best
those
stories are the ones that
right away.
People can't even spell, but you got to go see this thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, first few issues. At what point does the magazine kind of start becoming similar to what we know today to be Weird New Jersey? Is there a moment where you're like, let's really start to kind of
it was a long process. Through issues 1 through, let's say, 6 were all just black and white.
Yeah, and for context, how
locally
many,
printed.
what's this most recent issue is what?
62.
Okay.
So they were all black and white, and we collated them at Mark's kitchen table.
Nice.
So
This page goes here.
This
Yeah.
page was in box A. This page was in box B, and then you would collate them, fold them, mail them out, because people were sending us $5 for an issue. And it's
And after
stayed
32 years,
$5.
we raised it to $6.
Issue 7 was the first issue that we used one color. I mean, aside from black, so it was black and one color. And then the several issues down the line, then there were a few full color pages, and then a few more issues. It was all color. And then a few more issues later, it was a full color glossy every page.
Yeah.
So it gradually became, it looked more like a magazine. And a lot of that was due to the fact that all of the stores were picking up on the fact that they could make it available.
Yeah.
And back then, it's not like today. I mean, you had a lot of bookstores. A lot of them are out of business now.
Right.
Borders, Brentano,
Yeah.
B. Dalton, Walden. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
They're all out of business. So the only one left is Barnes & Noble, who has, been a great supporter and a friend of ours for going on 20-something years.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
It's even like there's a lot of like these big corner stores that don't even sell magazines anymore. So it's a process to get them out there.
Yeah, for sure. And then here's a question. Do you ever worry that you're going to run out of stuff to talk about?
That's question number 3.
That's question
Is it?
number 3. Yeah.
So cool. So good. Like, such a good question. Because, I mean, for going for that long, I mean, I'm sure that there are, like, some cases of, almost like rehashing, like a story that you've done before.
Well, we don't rehash as much as update.
That's a better way to
Because
put it.
what happens is more like somebody will read a particular article, and then they will share their experience with that subject or more knowledge of it. So
Or
we
you
have
were
to,
wrong about
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It happened this way.
Yeah.
So we'll have to share that with the readers. Anything that adds to the story, because the magazine really started out as like once again, before people had social media to post on. This was their community bulletin board.
Yeah.
For if they saw something along the road, they wanted to send a picture. They can't put it on their Facebook page or their Instagram. All they could do was send it to us. So that's what they did. So and then they might see it in print 6 months later.
Yeah. So before I ask probably the second question that you get asked all the time, what is the second most asked question that you get asked all the
The
time?
second, not the first, the second.
Well, you said...
Well, we didn't
you
answer
said,
the third.
What's your favorite?
Oh.
If you're ever going to run out of stuff to talk about, what's the third question, I guess?
Let's see.
The most asked
Oh, you
question.
stumped
We did write it down.
Yeah, Mark wrote them all down.
When we do appearances and stuff, I have this
Yeah.
little card. Who's going to come up first and say, I have every issue?
Yeah, like a bingo.
I used to read this when I was in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I would say, as far as your the previous question, will we ever run out of material? I don't think so, because since we only publish twice a year, there's a lot of time for stories to develop in that interim. And as long as there are strange people doing unusual things in the state,
Which there is.
and everybody knows who is listening to this that is a bottomless well. So
Yeah.
I think we'll be drawing from that. And also, we have a lot of stories that have been in the hopper for a long time, but just never came fully to fruition. So as we gain more, like somebody will send us a piece of the puzzle that will really, seal the deal on a particular article.
Yeah.
And then we can put it all together.
And we also have working on this issue called Stories We Would Never Publish.
Okay.
Because the stories are so bizarre.
Yeah, so out there.
So out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
We get
That's why we just keep piling.
We get quite a bit of
Yeah.
mail from prisons and from the mentally ill.
Are you still getting a lot of mail to this day?
Well,
just
in
the
prisons,
mentally ill
it's-
and the prisons.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Those are the only people who actually still write. I
Right.
mean, in prison, that's all
But still people
that's all they
reaching
can
out and
do.
being like, hey, check this out, check
Yeah.
this out. That kind of thing is still still happening.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah.
ever since like 1996, I would say most people write to us through email.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, now they message us through the various social platforms. But
like me.
Yeah, well, but the prisoners don't have that option. So we still get reams of yellow paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Written on a pencil.
That's great. In case you make a mistake, you just erase it. The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes. Hey folks, I want to tell you about the crew over at Make Cool Shit. These are the magicians who recently gave our podcast a jaw-dropping makeover. You know how we roll here at Greetings from the Garden State podcast, right? We're all about that Garden State attitude. Well, Make Cool Shit shares that same vibe, and they've got something absolutely epic to offer. It's called the Unlimited Cool Shit Design Subscription. It's a game changer, my friends. Imagine this, unlimited creativity, one flat monthly fee, and none of that boring stuff. It's like having your very own army of design superheroes on speed dial. Whether you're a fresh startup or a seasoned business looking to shake things up, the team at Make Cool Shit has got your back. It's all about making your brand sizzle, no matter where you are in your journey. So if you're ready to turn your ideas into mind-blowing realities, then it's time to connect with Make Cool Shit. Check them out on Instagram at WeMakeCoolShit or visit their website, WeMakeCoolShit.co. Remember, that's co, not com. I also do want to make sure, because the Great Not Chin was super helpful for kind of getting this set up and giving us a space to talk. So maybe we'll give them a little talking, about,
Sure.
So
Yeah.
this place is...
This is iconic.
It's iconic.
This
It's
is one of the
legendary.
last real roadside bars.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse bars in New Jersey.
Yeah.
It has quite a history in and of itself. I mean, it didn't even start here. It started down the road. They brought it here. They rolled it here on logs.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I remember coming in here when I was a teenager one time, and the old man that had the bar,
Rich's grandfather.
Yeah.
Rich is the bartender is here now.
he
shout out
he
Rich.
kicked me out because I had sneakers on.
Really?
Oh yeah. The old man. He was a small guy, quite old when we were started drinking. I had a white shirt, little bow tie, very your real stereotypical look of a bartender. But now this place it's known for music. It's known for motorcycles. Back then, those people weren't allowed in here.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Rich took over the reins that he welcomed them in. You couldn't come in with jeans on. You couldn't come in if you had long hair.
Wow.
The old man had a shotgun behind the bar, and those rules were strictly enforced.
Is that where you got the gun pointed at you?
No. I was in an abandoned orphanage up in Sussex County. And
We're in Sussex County because I'm from up there.
oh geez, I don't know. I was in the woods.
Sure.
It was
Right.
the middle of winter,
That makes
and
sense.
I came out from the basement, and there was a guy pointing a shotgun at me. You get this when you go into abandoned places in the middle of the woods. And then the other time, it was actually a police officer who pointed the gun at me. I just turned around. There he was with his pistol.
Yeah.
Pointed at me.
I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
I'm a journalist.
I was just sitting in an abandoned quarry. I didn't think I was like, a menace to society there. But
Totally.
I don't know what they were covering up. That's the other thing. When people pull guns on you, they're usually trying to cover you. There's something
Sure. You shouldn't be there
you're
for a
sniffing
reason.
around
Yeah,
someplace
right.
where they don't want you. So
Exactly.
that means it's a good story.
Yeah. Yes, I think it was. I was telling Mark off mic before that when I came in here a couple years ago, I just posted about it on my story, and I think still, even though we've grown quite a bit since then, that's like the most interaction I ever got on an Instagram story was the fact that I was here, and people were like, "You went to the Great Not Jen?" And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you weren't like worried? And I was like, no, like why would I be worried? But people like went to Montclair State, for a year, like 4 years or whatever. And they're like, I just never never came over, but it's a great spot.
One of my favorite lines. I play in a band, and we've played here, 100 times. But when I first got a new guitar player to lead guitar player, I said to him, "Yeah, I'm going to book a gig, the Great Notch." He goes, "Ooh, the Great Notch." He goes, "I hear what it lacks in ambiance. It makes up for an ambulance."
Yeah.
And I said, no, not to be afraid of.
Yeah, you're fine. But yeah, so shout out to the Great Notch Inn and Rich for letting us come in a little bit early and record in here. We're obviously thankful for that. And we'll have to come back and do a real episode about the Great Notch Inn at some point.
When it's rocking.
Yeah. So maybe this is a question you've been asked before, but you mentioned like going through sewer tunnels and going into abandoned places. Like, you still crawling through sewer tunnels? Like, you still putting the legwork in to get the story? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Well, not falling down any mountains.
Well,
anymore.
Sure. Which mountain did you fall down?
With the 100 steps in Morristown,
the 100
or whatever?
steps.
And it was all ice.
Morris
Yeah.
Plains, which is like right across the street from where Greystone. Well, Greystone used to be. There's a new Greystone asylum now, but back then it was the original, the big old Kirkbride building.
And I fell and I hit my shoulder. And I couldn't drive home because I couldn't lift my arm up. And I was driving out there. I couldn't lift my arm up. I had to drive like this.
This is
these are the stories we could tell.
Yeah, right. The stories you could tell.
Just encapsulate that story. Why Mark was on that mountain. There are 300 stone steps in the middle of the woods, just leading up to the top of a mountain. And people have speculated for years as to why that is. So, you got to go climb that mountain. Just like if you hear that there's a stone living room at the top of a mountain in Northern Green State Park.
Yeah.
You can't just trust people's word for it. Or if there's a crash jet in the swamp in West Milford, you got to go see that jet, you know? And sometimes you get muddy.
Totally.
And you get a lot of ticks. Yeah. But you got to do it. It's just the fact that if that's true and we didn't get out there, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I got to see it for myself. And I don't even care if people send in photos.
Right.
I want to see it for myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't just... They could be doctored,
Could be.
Could be doctored.
It's like
photos.
Shirtwood Forest.
I know, right? Somebody sent us this story. There's this place in the Pine Barrens I saw. Somebody had put all these starched white shirts stuck to pine trees. They're about 20 feet up. I was like, oh, come on, that's not true.
Yeah.
So we went out there. We were in the swamp, and we saw them, and we really couldn't get a good picture of it because it was all swamp.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was like water and tires floating.
Yeah. So who would actually do that in the middle of nowhere?
And they were
it's
so
certainly not
clean.
An art
it's like they came from. It's like they came right from the dry cleaner.
Yeah.
And then somebody somehow got out over that water and up into the trees, into these bare ass cedar trees, and just put all these white shirts up, like as far as the eye could see.
Yeah.
And it's like, when we finally made it down this piney, sandy trail and we saw that, it's like everything got quiet and you started looking around like,
Where's the guy
clearly whoever did this is
Yeah.
insane. And
that was one of the letters we said, oh, this couldn't be true.
and they're like, are they watching us now?
Yeah.
Right. They were the ones that sent the letter, probably.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe they're drawing. That's what you think. It's like maybe they're drawing us into like a fly into a spider's web.
Right.
You know?
How come all the birds stopped chirping? You know? And the frogs stopped croaking?
Yeah. But speaking of the Pine Barrens, is there a place in Jersey, and obviously the Pine Barrens is a massive part of the state, is there a place in Jersey where you found that you spent a lot of time kind of hunting down these stories? Because obviously, like, you're Essex County guys, so I'm sure it kind of started a lot up here.
When we started, the first 2 years or so were consumed with going up Route 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the great leads that we got, most of them from Ralph Sinisi.
Demon's Alley.
Up in that West Milford area. You had Demon's Alley, Clinton Road, Cross Castle, the Jet in the Woods. I could go on and on. It's like
Wave and Willie.
Yeah, every time we'd like set out on a Wednesday, where are we going? Looks like we're going on Route 23 North. The Collage House was up there. It's just, but eventually you got to pull yourself away, and then we cover the whole state, so you've got to really go around. You don't want to be too balanced in North Jersey or South Jersey. Central Jersey, if that exists, I don't know.
I think
The governor said it did, I guess.
with members of Demon's Alley and stuff like that, these places, they're not there anymore. So we're actually doing a service for
totally agree.
For the history of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we started, almost all of the legends that we printed were never documented anywhere before.
Yeah.
There was no mention of the Devil's Tree, let's say, in any history book or in any local publication even.
Right. Yes.
So we were gathering these things and selecting the ones that we thought were great. Now it's like you could go on the internet and post, type in Devil's Tree. There'll be 100 sites that really just base everything they know about it on our single article.
Right.
And that's kind of cool. Don't you
That's
think?
fine, but I'm just, all I'm saying is there we didn't have that luxury when we were started, because it had
We didn't
never,
actually want to tell anybody where we were going.
Yeah.
it was so in a sense I would say that was the ground. If we ever did anything groundbreaking, it was just to collect stories that for the most part did exist, but they were only told by the locals to each other,
word of mouth.
Yeah.
That is super interesting. And then the fact that you bring that up is like being able to take these things that have existed at a point in time in the history of New Jersey, and then being able to document them and keep them like in perpetuity. So if they wind up not going away or ceasing to exist, like they're someplace.
So in 50 years, if somebody wants to find out about the guy with the bowling balls on his lawn, we have it documented.
Yeah, and that's something like we kind of one of the episodes we did with the New Jersey State Police Benevolent Association, and it was their idea, not mine. We were going to go around and eat donuts, so like donuts with cops. Some of their favorite donut spots, so that those places are great. And one,
so they're embracing the cliche
for sure. They're like, listen, we do
the
eat
stereotype.
Donuts. I learned how to eat a donut like a cop, like how to not get it on your uniform, the whole thing. But one of the things that one of the guys said was in that similar vein of like being able to take like a place that's super important to a community and whatever, and be able to kind of showcase that a little bit and make sure that those places that have been around for, like one of the bakeries we went to, it unfortunately closed a few months after we went there, but it was like a place that had been there for 50 years, like owned in that same family for 50 years, and even a place like this, and talking about them and making sure that people come, like don't be intimidated, like come on in and have a beer kind of thing. And I think that's really cool, and like not even something that I would have even thought of when we started this episode. So I think that's like really cool and really important. So talking about kind of like the evolution of the magazine, obviously you're still putting out magazines, and I know that there's a book, and now there's like kind of a move to a website and socials and different things.
It's the wave of the future, my man.
Exactly. So like, how do you kind of maintain, is there like a I'm going to put this in quotes, like a strategy about maintaining like the connection to what you guys do and what you do well, but also kind of making sure that you're staying in front of as many people as you possibly can?
No, I wouldn't say that there's a strategy. This is our 31st year. So, basically at this point, I think if you don't get Weird New Jersey, there's nothing we can say to make you get it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like either you get it or you don't. For the people who get it, they love it. We've had readers literally since the first issue that are still with us. There are new people. I mean, when we do events or a talk somewhere, we'll have literally sometimes 3 generations, even 4 generations of a family come. From great-grandchildren up to a great-grandparents will show up. and it's that's the way people came up. They were brought up. You know,
and the audiences are very entertaining. Some are freaky, like goths. I mean, the magazine kind of doesn't really have a
demographic. I guess.
Demographic, yeah.
No, about staying ahead. I mean, we were lucky in the sense that we had really one of the first entertaining websites around at a time when most websites were flying toasters and things like that. I don't know if you were old enough to remember that, but
the magazine is almost as old as me.
Yeah.
So I'm a 90 baby. So
we started our website in '96.
Yeah,
and
I was 6.
There was not a lot on the internet back then, so we really made a splash with that. And we maintain all of that stuff ourselves, so we don't have a lot of help. It's hard to stay on top or in front of everything, but it'd drive you crazy to try to be in front of of anything. So it's there if you want it, And you go to weirdnj.com. You can jump to anything you want. I mean, if you're happier using Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I'm sorry, X.
Right. Yeah.
You can jump to it from there, but. Hey, it's there if you want it.
Yeah. That also kind of brings up another interesting thing. The people, like you've mentioned, that there's people that have been reading you guys since issue 1 and, going out and doing events and, kind of being in front of people. Talk to me maybe about, did you, what is the impact that it's had on people for 31 years and being able to kind of experience that, generations of families in some cases, that's got to be a pretty cool thing to.
Well, it is a very experiential experience.
Yeah, totally.
People don't just read it like a magazine like they would read, I don't know, what magazines people, New Jersey Monthly. They read it and they can't wait to get in their car.
Yeah.
And especially back when, once again, before everybody was on their device, back then people needed to socialize. It's the only way that they could be with their friends. It wasn't like they could see their friends on, Zoom or Facebook. They needed to get together, and one thing that they did was begin taking these night rides to places that were featured in the magazine, and that worked out well for us because not only were they going to Shades of Death Road or something, they were writing back to us with their experience about it. So
talking about generational things, the fathers would take their children, and they'd do a family trip to
it's a weird place.
Some sewer tunnel in Clifton.
We actually had one of them write to us and ask one time, "Is there an admittance fee at the gates of hell?"
If you got to ask, you can't afford it.
We do have some great. We recorded the phone calls over the year to the office. There's just a crazy stuff,
Yeah.
That grave that it's called Monkey? It's not a monkey. It's a cat. And then hang up.
That's my aunt's cat.
Yeah.
Monkey.
Oh, man. I mean, I think that's got to be, to me, that's definitely got to be something that's super interesting to see because, just starting out as an idea, all those years ago and then kind of seeing its evolution and kind of the notoriety and the brand that it is.
Yeah,
if you say Weird New Jersey to someone, they know exactly what you're talking about. They've either read it, they know about it, they've interacted with you guys in
a lot
some
of people,
way.
They know it as this thing. Weird New Jersey. People say Weird New Jersey, and they don't even know it's a magazine anymore.
Yeah,
they think it's saying, people who say, "Give me a Kleenex," and they don't realize, no, that's a facial tissue. Or
it's a brand name.
Band-Aids.
Q-tip.
They don't. There are really people that don't even associate
that's
the brand
Weird
name.
New Jersey.
It's become like this. Just this, generic thing, but of course it's not. I mean, it is a registered trademark.
Right.
But hey, whatever.
Yeah. And also kind of going off that, has there ever been a point where you've kind of like almost taken a step back and kind of looked at the body of work that you guys have done and be like, wow, like who knew that this was kind of get us
yeah,
to
I'll
this
tell
point
you,
all the time.
in life?
It
Yeah.
was a blur. I mean, when it really snowballed, it was just like we were just treading water so fast to stay up with it that when you do look at the wake behind you, I mean, we were just doing 2 issues of the magazine a year, maybe once in a while a special issue. But then when we did the first book, then the next year the national book, Weird U.S., then all of a sudden we had a contract for 18 more books.
State books.
Yeah,
right.
various states, and then the History Channel came to us when we did a show for a series for the History Channel. So you don't even have time to think in a situation.
We'll
like
be on the
that.
plane, like writing the book, and we're going to New Orleans or something, to see some voodoo guy.
But when you look back, like when you can kind of take a minute and stop and smell the roses, behind us is 45 books, 62 issues of a magazine.
Countless special one-off issues.
Yeah.
Special issues, 2 CDs of New Jersey artists singing and playing. God, not even talking about all the posters and patches and
Yeah.
stickers that we
Right.
designed.
T-shirts.
Yeah,
You guys are rocking
oh
them.
God,
Yeah.
thousands of T-shirts, events, party, Halloween parties at the Stone Pony and Asbury Lanes, to mention just a couple.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it was a lot. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, and like in that time, and kind of talking about that, was there ever like a pinch me moment? Like you met somebody, you were like, "Holy shit, I can't believe I just met fill in the blank," or got to do something. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, a couple and doing stuff like that. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool to do a series for the History Channel and do different things or go places and be able to travel because of what you guys have done here for the state.
Kevin Smith just asked me that question a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
well, that would be a pretty good pinch me moment.
My answer was, well, right now, Kevin,
Yeah,
I'm
right,
talking to you.
Wait, give me a second. Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah, no, we did get to meet a lot of really interesting people, like especially during the TV show when we were in Hollywood or in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But you find out that even the celebrities that you maybe grew up watching on TV, they're just regular people, and some of them are jerks.
Yeah.
Some of them are great. The Smothers Brothers were great guys.
yeah.
People like that. I mean, that's just to name a few. I don't want to name drop.
Sure.
But
Yeah, which guy was a douche. Yeah.
fortunately, they were not necessarily people who were in our field
Right,
at all, though. But I don't think we have any people in our
Yeah, I feel
field,
like you guys are
really.
in a field unto yourself.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
like
definitely
definitely
like other magazines that
a
exist in the
niche.
state. They don't do what you guys do. You know.
Well, there were authors in other states doing similar things to what we were doing, but we got to work with them
Right.
and become friends with them, because when we were doing the books on other states, we would find the person in whatever state it was, Ohio or Florida, Texas, wherever, and we would say to them, "Hey, you want to work together on a book?" And they
This is what we want you to cover.
yeah, they suggested stories, we suggested stories to them, and we worked together. They would be our eyes and ears in that state. But it was a very collaborative effort. We never gave anybody full control
Sure.
over any aspect of what we did.
Yeah.
It was always a collaboration, and it worked out well for us. And we're still friends with all those folks.
Yeah.
I would say 99% of them.
Yeah.
There is that story of that one woman.
Yes, and the other like 20% are dead.
That's true.
Yeah. So before we kind of somehow we went for 45 minutes already, which is.
We didn't even have our first beer break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I said if we were rolling, we might just go. We might just keep going. Now we could tell all the off-mic stories after the episode. So you mentioned going to other states and traveling and interacting with people that are doing similar stuff to what you guys are doing here. Is New Jersey still the weirdest state? Are there talk Talk to me kind of like where's New Jersey kind of fall
in our world?
order?
Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Weird New Jersey is the weirdest state.
Yeah.
And we made it that way.
That's right.
Highlighting
all the weird stuff.
Folks have asked that question before, and I think my answer is pretty set on that, and that's that we told, when Barnes & Noble came to us to publish a book series nationally, we told them, we can write a book on any state. Any state definitely has enough material. I challenge anybody out there. I don't believe any other state you could put out 62 issues of a magazine,
right.
plus 2 books, plus 10 special issues. No, New Jersey's the only place, and it's just because of our tremendously long history and our diversity, both population-wise,
geographically.
It's
the most densely populated, but also one of the most diverse.
Sparse.
In so many different ways.
Where you come from in Sussex County, there's more cows per square mile, I think, than people.
Yeah, I think there are.
I think in Burlington County, which is the lion's share of the Pine Barrens, I think there's like 1 person per capita square mile.
Yeah.
That's pretty sparse.
It is.
There must be a reason for that.
Yeah, I wonder. No, but this has been so cool. Like, talk about pinch me moments and being able to sit with you guys. Like I said at the outset of this episode, like the OGs of kind of New Jersey content creation. Just being able to kind of talk with you a little bit, have you out at my event. That was
terrific.
Great.
Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. We'll have to do more. We already have a date set for next year, so we'll have to have both of you guys out.
Reese Van Riper rocks.
Rocks. Yeah. I loved it. Right before you introduced them, you were like, these guys are fucking psychopaths, man. That was so perfect, and they ate that up. They were so proud of that. So for people listening, if somehow they kind of missed the first 31 years of you guys, where should they go to learn more, kind of engage with the stuff that you guys are doing, website, socials, like where should they be going?
They can pick up a magazine.
They can also pick up a magazine.
They can go to weirdnj.com.
That's a good jumping off
point. They can call us on the phone. We won't answer, but call us on the phone.
They may record your voicemail.
But we will, you can always send us an email right through that website, and we always love hearing from people. We get our best leads from other people. And that's why when we do events, it's one of the major reasons. So, a lot of people won't write to us. But, man, when they see in person, they got a story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we do a lot of events, so we're pretty accessible. You know?
Totally. No, and again, I appreciate it. We'll make sure that we put links and stuff in the show notes. People just go click them and go check it out. We'll also thank, again, the Great Not Gin and Rich here for opening up the bar, getting us a beer, giving us the space. We really appreciate that. So make sure you come down and actually check this place out because it is amazing and legendary in its own way. And we'll put greetingsfromthegarden8.com in the show notes as well. So you just go click, get to all our other episodes, which we've been crushing with episodes this year. And this is just another long line of cool episodes that we've done. So again, this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We had Mark Sceurman, Mark Moran from Weird New Jersey on the show with us today. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Awesome.
Let's have a beer.